why don't we get started? Folks, we do actually have a lot of content to cover. We put together 2 different decks here, combined it together. We wanted to cover tons. We put 94 slides together. Some of them are sequences, so they're a little fast, but we're gonna go ahead and dive right in. We're not going to talk a lot about exclusive. If you know us, you know the type of clients that we work with. Here's a handful of our clients. We were the first online retail marketing agency ever, founded back in 1997. Currently, we're fairly large. We are actually the largest ad spend managers on the East Coast when it comes to Google Ads. We have several departments, including SEO, conversion, social, and of course Amazon. In the last 12 years, we've been on the Inc. 5000 10 times, really been enjoying that growth. We were founded by Scott Smigler, who's our president and founder and still runs the day-to-day of our business. He was actually building the first search engines online while working in retail back in 97 and decided online retail is actually a thing. I've got to start building an agency around it. I joined the company in 2008 and I was brought on to convert our business from projects to solutions. I created our SEO, Google Ads, Google Shopping, Amazon conversion testing, and email solutions, brought on team members, helped develop those platforms before kind of switching to work with new clients. And I'm joined by 2 members of the Ecom Engine team. If we can go through quick introductions.
Sure. I'm Becky Trowbridge. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm the content strategist at Ecom Engine. I've been here since 2016. Worked with Colleen that entire time, and it's been amazing. I love it.
And I'm Colleen Quattlebaum, marketing manager at Ecom Engine. I'm based in Richmond, Virginia. I've been in the e-commerce industry for over 10 years now, and I really work on focusing on learning as much as possible about Amazon feedback and reviews and how to help brands and sellers to increase and manage their reviews better. And I also work with people like Nick to cultivate our partnerships. So.
Awesome. And Tom, you just asked a question. Will the decks be available for download? Yeah, actually, the decks will be available for download, and you're going to get a recording copy as well. So you guys don't need to take notes. There's a lot to cover, so don't worry about that. First thing we're going to talk about is should you actually go onto Amazon if you're not already on Amazon, and more importantly, invest in Amazon ads. It's a big part. We'll do some updates for Amazon. We're then going to talk about how to dominate your category, which is called sales velocity. We're going to talk about improving conversion rates, and that will be a segue over to the team at Ecom Engine to talk about how to really dominate reviews. And then we're going to give you guys basically the best of the best tips that we have for 2021. So dive right in to that, and just keeping in the back of our minds that Prime Day has been announced. It's coming up very, very soon, June 21st and 22nd. Curious to see what kind of recommendations we talk about today that you guys think you can still implement in that period of time. So first question is, should I or shouldn't I? Actually, a lot of people still don't do Amazon because they're worried about giving up that 15% or so of margin to Amazon. But it's much harder to get a sale on your website. People are not indoctrinated into your user experience or set up with accounts and whatnot. So that's kind of in the back of everyone's mind, but the numbers kind of speak for themselves. Amazon has more conversions than websites. We look at 39 of our clients that are on Amazon and on Google. Conversion rates are significantly higher than Google Shopping, and of course, search ads as well, even though there's brand in those PPC ads. And the return on ad spend, when you just look at everything at the end of the day, is also more than twice that of Google Shopping and significantly higher than search ads for your website. So there is a profitable reason to look into investing as aggressively as possible on Amazon. We just let the numbers guide us on that, right? This is something that we are agnostic towards, but if this is where the trend is. Another aspect for thought is, when you look at clients that decided to get more aggressive in 2020, we had a client that was increasing their ad-driven traffic from 33% to 43%. So basically, they just got a little more aggressive, but that led to a jump in their overall year-over-year growth. They were growing at a 14% clip, then they got up to 42 just by adding ads. And profitability, more importantly, also increased dramatically. So a little bit of extra ads, and then you get this big windfall of organic, which is really the crux of what we're going to talk about today. And it's different for every industry, but it's really notable if we look at the entirety of last year, what happened with cost per clicks. When there's so much more activity going on Amazon, that's supply, right? So that supply being sold to the same number of advertisers, the cost per clicks actually go down. So it's actually cheaper to be advertising on Amazon than it was before the pandemic started. Let's talk about some updates for 2021. First of all, how is Amazon responding to their competition, right? So Google keeps losing a little bit of share year over year. This trend has been happening for several years now, and they're giving up that share to Facebook and Amazon. So everyone's kind of learning from each other. And from Facebook, what everyone has learned is who is advertising on Facebook? Oh, brands that have high lifetime value. What's the title of our webinar? It's the brand's playbook. So you guys are actually the most attractive audience for Facebook to bring in as advertisers. But Google and Amazon wanted a cut of it. That's why Google started to launch things like discovery ads, which is basically a facsimile of what Facebook does. They even utilized all their responsive ad space remaining on the Google Ads display network through responsive. So they're trying to build brands as much as possible. And Amazon joined in. Amazon said, yeah, we've got to do that. We've got to help our brands market themselves better. There's a lot more controls now that have been brought in for sponsored brands, big announcements, but also just in functionality people are waiting for. You don't have to keep creating new campaigns. You can actually edit campaigns, and it's significantly more flexible and versatile than it was before. The brand store has become significantly more effective, and you can advertise for subsections of your brand now, like subcategories in your headline ad, which is obviously a great technique specifically for brands. And this is starting to get all this money now into Amazon. And to copy what Google has been doing and what Facebook has done for so long, there's sponsored display now as well. So if you're a brand and you've already done all your search strategy, you can actually start to now go out and do a little bit more in the display side. It should be a rung of your marketing strategy as a brand, no matter what right now. And to add on that sponsored brands video, at the moment, 100% of our clients that are using sponsored brands video, those video campaigns are outperforming their account average. I mean, these are some of the highest performing ads that exist on Amazon right now, and they're built for you guys, for brands, which is really exciting. You can also decide to be a dominant player. You can do search impression share targeting so that you can see whether you are truly the most dominant player. And there's benchmark reporting that is now built in to Amazon to help you understand whether you're achieving your intention on being the player in your market. These are basically everything that we've had on our wish list for years is finally coming to fruition for those clients that are direct consumer brands on Amazon. Now let's put all that into context of truly dominating your space. You can invest in building your brand, but if you can't get the transactional top of funnel down, then you're not getting the right buyers. And the best way to get all the transactional buyers is to engage not just in ads, but in what's called full chain sales velocity, where you have a strategy to dominate both the organic portion as well as the paid portion. Even people who've been advertising on Amazon for a long time sometimes don't realize that the organic listings for a search phrase are actually just based on rankings of sales. So you type in a search phrase, the first ranking was whoever sold the most units. That's not the total revenue number, it's actually units. So most units, second most, third most, etc. It's called sales velocity, the number of units sold of your product among all those people who search for that specific keywords. It's like pluralities, misspelling, everything is baked into this. So how can you get to the top? First thing, you have to optimize. You optimize for the keyword that you want to rank for. It's very straightforward. If you optimize for the keyword and you have no sales velocity, you're going to be on the map, but way, way, way back. So to get sales, you need to pay for them. To get on the map, though, you just need to tell Amazon that, yes, we are relevant to this keyword. You can do it anywhere. You can put that keyword in the title tag. You can put it into your bullets. You should probably establish a rubric that you follow when it comes to bullets and think about all the qualifiers that matter in your customer journey and continue to flush out your titles using that. But then you pay for the keyword. You pay for the keyword that you really believe you can make sales for. And if there is product market fit there and you end up making some sales, those sales from paid listings count just as much as an organic sale. So you make 6 sales, all of a sudden, when the algorithm is resetting, you're now on the map. You're on the map organically, you're on the map with a paid ad. And before you know it, you're making 6 sales here, 6 sales there. That adds up to 12. And then before you know it, you're at 15. And now you are the dominant player. When you're the dominant player, you cannot just back off of your ad. You now defend that position and you start thinking about getting another product in there as well. This is the secret to dominating. Now, the algorithm itself is unfortunately not just as simple as put your keyword in there and have high sales velocity. What happens when there's 50 products that only have 1 sale each? That's when all things equal scenarios happen. So last year, the A10 algorithm was released, but the A9 algorithm before that basically had all this baked in. Sales velocity and some relevance, that was it. But if you're one of 50 products that has only made 1 unit sold, then your optimization levels matter. Did you use that keyword in your title and backend and the page content and your filter fields? If that's all the same as everyone else, then your account starts to matter. Now, Amazon added one more feature in the A10 algorithm, one that matters, which is if you have a website that has a buy now on Amazon button and you're sending people to Amazon to this product, or you have social media, or you have emails that you're dropping, and they're all helping you make sales on Amazon, that is now factored in on top of your sales velocity for the keyword itself. So now you don't just advertise in Amazon, you bring people to Amazon and Amazon rewards you for it. Trying to figure out how to organize a strategy is challenging. One of the greatest techniques though in Amazon is one that they came up with. It's called conquesting. And once you learn conquesting, you say, well, actually I should have a structure like this. I should defend my brand because other people are going to conquest against me. So if someone types in my brand, I got to show up. I don't want my competitors to show up. But if someone types in my competitor's brand, I want to conquest them. Maybe even at a break even. I don't need to make money here. I just need to take some shots at my competitor. Discovery, when they don't know the brand, that's where you need to be as profitable as possible. So if you're Nike, and someone's typing in Nike shoes men's 10, you want to be aware of the fact that Mars Vovo is paying for your keyword and trying to steal sales away, which people have been doing to Nike forever. But if Nike wanted to really be as aggressive as possible, they'd also make sure that they show up for Adidas shoes men's 10, just like Mars Volvo continues to do. Great conquesting strategy there. And then, of course, before someone knows the brand, there's all these discovery keywords that people type in. And discovery keywords can't just be one group. Discovery keywords should be organized by the really big keywords that only some products can contend in. The mid-tail, where someone has added a qualifier and you want to lead in that qualifier, like blue running shoes. That's mid-tail. People are still looking for selection, but it's not as generic as just running shoes. And then long tail is just tons and tons of qualifiers. Of course, you want to show up for that. You first start making sales in the long tail and get some reviews. Then you can tackle some mid tail, remove some qualifiers. And when you start to succeed in the mid tail, certain products are actually good enough to introduce for category. Trying to put this research together is difficult. We recommend using SEMrush, BrightEdge, scrape your competitors' rankings, check out your Google Ads, your Google Shopping, all your Amazon keywords. We built these tools that help us organize all this together, which is just very helpful. But all those keywords should be tested. You're trying to see if there's a product market fit, starting in long tail, then mid tail, then head terms. Have different budgets and cost per acquisition for your brand, defense, for conquesting, and discovery. So put that into context for yourself. Think about it. Try to be honest here. What part of your sales velocity chain are you currently the weakest in? Is it doing all that broad research of like what keywords should I target? Is it optimizing the front and back end of the page? Is it coordinating your ads to keeping them optimized and profitable? Is it balancing protecting your brand, conquesting your competitors, and everyone who keeps coming to take your pie from you, and discovery? Or is it, well, I'm doing all the right things, but reporting, tracking my rankings, trying to figure out my total ACOS because I'm paying, but I'm making sales organically, so it's all balanced out. Where are you the weakest? And I'll let this run for another 5, 4, 3, 2, sip of water, and close. All right, let's see. 32% of you. All right, got in your heads there. This is good. Balancing brand conquest and discovery is a huge game changer. It absolutely changes the control of your strategy, the balance of your ACOS and CPA. Fantastic. Doing the research to figure out where else you can play, the keywords, it's great that it's number 2. And there's kind of an equal balance between reporting, coordinating ads, keeping them optimized, optimization of SEO. Great. Thank you guys for being honest, and hopefully it's helpful to kind of see what your peers are saying, where they're weak, right? So, there we go. Perfect. So let's say you got all this amazing visibility now, but people keep clicking on your page and they're not converting. Easy things to think about. This is a terrible page. Okay. And you have to think of why. And do this when you look at your own pages. Why would someone think my page is a terrible page? Well, in this case, it's kind of obvious. There's not a lot of images, so you can't get multiple angles of the product. There's only 2 bullets. There's 3 missing, and they're what we call engineering speak, right? Like it's just the details that an engineer would put into like a spec. It's not helpful. It's not like someone has gone through and read the reviews and tried to explain how people feel about the product. And the description is like an eye exam, right? Like you can't get anything from that. Well, here's examples of pretty good UX. Lots of different variations on images, including value images, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The bullets are easy to read and they tell a story. They tell you why you might actually want it. It's marketing speak, not engineering speak. The title is very well fleshed out. This is a good example of a good description. How do you get bullets in a description? HTML code. It's Super simple. If you just add your list coding into your description, you can actually create something that is much easier to peruse. And big part of our presentation today, you got to get more Amazon reviews. People don't want to review you unless they're really upset. So you've got to do something to engage. You are in charge of the quality and quantity of your reviews. And with that, I pass it off to our friends at Ecom Engine.
All right, thank you, Nick. So I want to start out, as Nick said, Prime Day is right around the corner, less than 2 weeks away. So I want to start out by talking about the impact that Prime Day has on reviews. And this is some data that we at Ecom Engine took a look at Prime Day last fall, or last October when it occurred in 2020. And we took a look at the amount of positive reviews that Feedback 5 users saw in that week prior to Prime Day compared to the week after Prime Day. And as everybody knows, many sellers get a lot more orders on Prime Day, but we wanted to see the impact on reviews and specifically positive reviews that Prime Day had. And Feedback 5 users saw a 32% increase in positive reviews in that week following Prime Day. And in just some anecdotal conversations that we've had as well, if you think about Prime Day compared to just, the standard holiday season in Q4, Prime Day, many people are buying things for themselves or for their household, and they're also very excited about the deals that they get, so that just leaves them more motivated to leave a review and to leave it quickly. Whereas in fourth quarter, if somebody's purchasing a gift in September, October, November, they might not even be giving that gift until December, and they might not be the one actually using that gift. So then they're less likely to be motivated to leave a review. So Prime Day really is a great opportunity to increase your reviews. We actually call this time following Prime Day, we call it the feedback frenzy, because you only have 30 days as a seller to ask for feedback and reviews. You have 30 days from the time that order was completed. And even though buyers do have 90 days to leave feedback and they can leave a review at any time, most buyers are only going to leave a review once they're nudged by you, the seller. In fact, 80% of reviews are left after the shopper receives an email asking for a review. So in those first 30 days after Prime Day, it's a prime opportunity for you to be asking for reviews. So get your review and feedback strategy in place now. Make sure you maximize your feedback and reviews on those Prime Day orders, but just don't risk restriction. So there are some guidelines that you need to make sure that you follow when you are asking for feedback and reviews. Here's some of the don'ts and some of the, most common offenders that we tend to see. And I just want to clarify that Amazon does allow sellers to request reviews, but again, you just have to make sure you follow the rules. So number one, never offer incentives for reviews. Always use very neutral language. Don't ask specifically for a positive review. Don't do anything to try to manipulate reviews. For instance, you cannot say, if you're happy with this product, please leave a review on Amazon. If not, please contact us. That has been viewed at Amazon as a violation, and that you're manipulating, forcing people to go to Amazon for positive experiences and coming to you for the negative experience. And then just make sure that you don't review your own product, don't have family or friends review your own product, and don't put any URLs or attachments in your email request unless it's necessary. And what Amazon deems as necessary are like warranty, product instructions, or an invoice. And if you do have your logo, like that Acme company one over there, if you do have your logo, make sure the URL is not part of your logo, because that is not allowed. So those are some don'ts, and then some things that you must do when sending a review or feedback request. You must send it within 30 days of order completion, as I mentioned previously, and you must have the 17-digit order ID, and always send it in the buyer's language of preference. And that's a tricky one because you don't know the buyer's language of preference unless you have access to the Amazon API. However, there are tools that can help you do that, as well as Amazon's Seller Central request a review button will always send the message in the buyer's language of preference as well. And you can only ask once for feedback and reviews. You can ask for feedback and review in the same message, just like Amazon does in that message to the right. That's a copy of what their message looks like from the request a review button. They ask to rate the item as well as give feedback. So that is you're allowed to ask for both of those in one message, but you cannot send 2 separate messages per order. And so I mentioned the request a review button. So that is found in Seller Central under the order details page. This is 100% Amazon compliant. So if you ever worry about trying to follow the rules and what the latest guidelines and policies are, this is the no-brainer to make sure that you're following the rules and you can set it and forget it. However, it's a manual process to click this button for every order. So if you're a larger seller, you have a lot of orders, especially on Prime Day, most sellers probably don't have the time to click this button for every order. So the good news is there are tools out there you can find in the Amazon App Store. One of them, my favorite personally, is Feedback 5, which is our tool. So in Feedback 5, on the next slide, I'll show where we've had people using Feedback 5 to automate the request a review button. And the results are pretty powerful. What we've seen is that sellers who have activated this feature in our tool to automate the request a review button, they've seen a 41% increase in their daily reviews just by automating and using this request a review feature. And a couple of reasons for that. One is that the message is very mobile friendly. Amazon has optimized the message to make it very easy for buyers to just do a one-tap rating. And again, it's in the buyer's language of preference, so you can ensure that the buyer is able to read the email confidently to leave a message. And again, it's within all of Amazon's guidelines, and the message is sent directly from Amazon, which I think that gives a lot of confidence to the buyers as well. Many buyers don't realize that they're purchasing from a third party when they purchase on Amazon. So if a message comes from your company versus Amazon, they might not be as likely to open it. So we are seeing really good results from this message that comes directly from Amazon. And in Feedback 5 on the next slide, this is just kind of shows in our software, just a brief example. It's super easy to set it up. It just takes 2 clicks and 2 minutes. And so this is something that you do have time to set up between now and Prime Day. I know it's only 2 weeks away, but again, it just takes 2 minutes to get set up. And it is the safest and most effective way to request reviews. And on the next slide, I wanted to talk about a little bit about the recency of reviews. So everybody knows that the quality of reviews is important. You want to get as many 5-star reviews as possible. And we all know that quantity of reviews is important as well. If you can get hundreds of reviews for your item, or even just dozens of reviews, that will make a big difference. But recency is really important as well. And this does get factored into Amazon's algorithm. And Amazon's smart to do that because most consumers believe that reviews more than 3 months old are not even relevant. So if you're comparing one item to a competitor's item, and the competitor's item has really recent reviews in the last few months, and your item doesn't have reviews for 6 months or 12 months, then obviously the competitor item with the recent reviews is going to look like the latest version, or maybe the one that they should purchase. So make sure that you are always getting new and fresh reviews, even if you have hundreds of 5-star reviews. Recency is very important. So by asking for reviews now, leading up to Prime Day, that will help when people are looking at your product on Prime Day, that you have recent reviews. And it will also set you up for success in 4th quarter as well. So again, the equation for review success is quality plus quantity and recency. That will certainly help you be more successful. And as we know, Amazon reviews are extremely important, but my biggest tip is just make sure you are asking for reviews. There's so many sellers that I talk to that say, oh, I thought Amazon was sending messages. I thought they did that on my behalf. Amazon very rarely sends messages on your behalf. So if you want more reviews, you need to make sure that you are asking, whether you're using buyer-seller messaging, which yes, that is still okay, but just make sure you're following the guidelines, or you're using a tool or the request a review button. Make sure you have a strategy in place to ask. Some other tips of things you can do to get more Amazon reviews are put product inserts inside your packaging. So you are allowed to do that, but again, similar guidelines. You can't ask for a positive review. You need to be very neutral, but you can put product inserts in to request a review. The Amazon Vine program is free, and if you're brand registered, you can enroll in that. I've heard mixed opinions from sellers on that. Some seems to work well, some haven't been that impressed by it, but it's worth a shot. Optimizing your listings is critical. That's something you could definitely do now between now and Prime Day. And again, Nick mentioned a lot of great tips. And then see what your listing looks like on mobile as well, on a mobile device, to see if there's anything else that you could do to improve it. Detailed product instructions will help make sure that you don't lead the buyer to give you a negative review if they can't figure out how to use the item or they're struggling with it. That could lead to a negative review. So having detailed product instructions and listings are important. And again, if you choose to use software, which I believe is definitely the most effective and safest method, just make sure you find software that's found in the Amazon App Store that is legitimate and approved. And so just kind of some final tips here. This just summarizes the things that I said. Don't risk restriction, set it and forget it. But get your review strategy in place. And if you need any help, you're welcome to reach out to us. And then lastly, product reviews are crucial to your success on Amazon. 90% of shoppers read the ratings before they make a purchase. So make sure that you're doing everything you can to increase your conversions, get more clicks, clicks to orders because you have more reviews. But one piece of reviews is it can also help you plan your restocking decisions. So taking a look at negative reviews, if you're seeing a trend in negative reviews, it might give you a clue that you need to pull something from the shelf. If you're seeing a trend in positive reviews, you might need to restock up on those items because it's selling faster than you expected. And that's where I'm going to turn it over to Becky, who's going to talk a little bit more about inventory management and some other tips there.
Great, thanks, Colleen. Well, yeah, we've got Prime Day coming up here at the end of Q2. So something to consider, and part of the reason that we're talking now is really Prime Day is a big part of your overall 2021 sales strategy on Amazon. If you are selling with FBA, you need to be paying attention to your IPI threshold. This determines your storage capacity at the Amazon fulfillment centers, and it's determined by how well your inventory is performing throughout the year. So you really don't want to get to the end of Q3 and say, oh no, I don't have the storage space I need for demand in Q4. It's also important to consider seasonality. If you have products that are really popular in Q3, for example, it's unfortunately a little late to make a big difference in your IPI for Q3 at this point, but it's definitely something to be paying attention to. So your IPI is made up of 4 metrics in Seller Central. It's your excess inventory percentage, your FBA sell-through rate, your stranded inventory rate, and FBA in-stock rate. This number has changed. It varies a lot based on what Amazon's capacity is. So right now the threshold is 450. That means that you're doing well. You want your score to be above 450, definitely not below it. And if it is below it, we'll talk on the next slide about some ways to fix that. So you always want to be looking at your inventory performance reports in Seller Central. They give you a lot of really helpful tips for things you can do to improve your score. Definitely want to get rid of any unproductive inventory, work on improving your sell-through rate. And if you have excess inventory, you can either try to lower your price, work with advertising, optimize your listing, do things to try to make more sales. Or you might say, you know what, I'm just going to get that inventory removed, send it back to me, and I'll try to sell it or donate it or whatever I'm going to do from my own warehouse. You can also pay Amazon to dispose of it for you. But another interesting option that has come up recently is FBA liquidation. So you can actually ask Amazon to sell your inventory to a wholesaler on your behalf, and then you'll recover part of the cost of your inventory. So that's a better way. From an environmental standpoint, it's just, not as many things being thrown away, and hopefully you get some money back, which everyone appreciates. But the main thing is you just really want to make sure that you can stay in stock. And it's really important to be able to forecast, have an idea. Like I said, if you have seasonal products, you need to have an idea of trends. You need to be really aware of what's happening in your industry, and just make sure that you're staying in stock and you're always able to fulfill orders. So going on to the next slide, that gets into some of the challenges for FBA sellers. Some are new, some are ongoing, but trying to stay in stock has gotten a little harder recently because restock limits by storage type were just announced. So Amazon is changing the way that it determines how much inventory you can have at FBA. So as always, I feel like we're always saying this, but it's really important to diversify your business, and that includes your inventory management strategy. So if you are FBA, you need to have a way to fulfill orders yourself, whether you use a 3PL or do that from your garage or your own warehouse. So getting into the restock limits, you can actually see that it's kind of hidden at the bottom of your Seller Central account. But if you go into your shipping queue or your inventory page, you can scroll to the bottom and see your restock limits. So those are actually based on units, and that determines how much inventory you can send to FBA. It doesn't matter what your IPI score is, but if your IPI score is below the threshold that we just talked about, that 450 number, you're going to be subject to FBA storage volume limits, and that's measured differently. So you definitely want to make sure, basically, if you're doing everything you can to keep your inventory moving steadily, you're not going to have a problem with your IPI. And Amazon's guidelines there are really, and the metrics that they're measuring are really all about helping you make sure that your inventory is not just sitting there costing you money in the fulfillment center, because no one wants to be paying long-term storage fees. And the more that you follow those best practices, the better off your inventory will perform and have better sales rank, and everything's good. So then there are just some other tips to manage your FBA inventory. Like I said, you don't want to risk your sales rank. You don't want to risk your listing momentum. You definitely don't want a competitor coming in and swooping in on all of that traffic that you just brought with all of your awesome advertising strategy. You need to be able to forecast to know what to restock and when. And we actually have a software called Restock Pro that can help you do that. It's a really unique software. It's designed just for FBA sellers. You also need to be aware of when it's time to stop selling a product. Like Colleen said, if you're starting to see reviews trending downward, that might be a good sign that maybe there's just not demand for this product anymore, and maybe it's time to move on to something else. And you really just want to keep your profit margins healthy all the time. So having a good inventory management strategy is key for you to be able to do that and to keep your sales going well throughout the rest of 2021.
Awesome. Thanks, Becky and Colleen. So we've got a few more sales tips before we get to the questions. We've got a few questions in here. People ask us to just put case studies in. So when you get the PDF, this will be really helpful. But here's an example of a client where the top sellers on Amazon, unfortunately, we're no longer, we weren't allowed to sell anymore. And yet, through the right strategy, we're able to see a 15-month streak of consistent year-over-year growth by switching gears a little bit for Greek gear. Another client of ours, Unique Vintage, we're able to increase their sales every month. We actually increased Amazon revenue by almost 400% within the first 90 days, I believe it was. So pretty exciting there. Now let's talk about tips. Some things are fundamental to what we do. We definitely continue to get confused by why Amazon does this, but there's a simple solution. So if you have a lot of IDs in one ad, and all those IDs in that ad are targeting 3 different keywords, you actually don't know the relationship between a keyword and the ID, only the keywords and the ad. So the only way to parse out the success rate of an ID to a keyword is for you to make an ad equal an ID, as opposed to an ad equaling 3 IDs. So the keyword to ad relationship now is a keyword to ID relationship. It means 1 product per ad. It's a simple solution. It gives you complete control over keywords. This is the OPA campaign structure. We suggest that you regularly, especially for your biggest keywords, go through and audit Amazon's relevance algorithm, because you're not always going to see them show the right ads if you're using the automation, where manual gives you a little bit more control. So just checking into that could be helpful, and maybe gives you a strategic reason to start shifting away a little bit from giving Amazon all that control. When you do want to assert complete control, that's when you're using match types, broad, phrase, exact. There are ways to use these three tactically. For example, if you wanted to spend more on a keyword but maintain a higher position, there's a way to use your match types to achieve that. You could also take a keyword that you're currently paying for in broad, you don't want to pay as much for. You can do that as well by switching match types. But match types are not just there to tell Amazon what you do want to show up for. Um, it's how you want to do it and which products are going to show up first, etc. So there's a sequence of intentions that you get from match types. The more you learn about how they actually work in combination, would be helpful for you to have more control and achieve higher performance. We're recommending that for anyone who's engaging in full chain velocity and is spending a lot of money on ads just to get the organic ranking, that organic ranking is tracked and monitored. We didn't have a good technology out there available on the market, so we developed our own ranking technology to help our clients track their rankings on the organic side. Now, when you optimize and then you advertise, we can both look at the impact on rankings, as well as when the organic rankings are bringing sales that really came from ads originally, we can look at the total ACoS, the tacos. We built our own ratings tracker as well. So all the work you do with the e-com engine and start building up your reviews, it's important to regularly review all this. We've developed a little bit of an audit. Even if you don't have our audit, you should be thinking about what you'd actually audit if you could. You're looking at your star ratings per product, average star ratings, ratings growth by registered brands, which could be really helpful. And then set your optimizations based on that. Sometimes you might be overbidding on a product that is actually starting to see a downtrend on reviews. You might not be bidding enough on a product that is it's gaining a lot of traction on the review side, but historically it was not that strong of a product. So a similar product is getting all the bids, and now it's time to switch. So thinking about the relationship and aligning that is super helpful. Having technology like we've developed makes it significantly easier. Recommending that you watch your ad placements. Top of search does seem to perform a little bit better for most clients in most cases. Just like on the CPC trend line, where Damon made a comment about how CPCs in his market did not actually go down post-pandemic. Well, same situation here. Top of search is not always the best, but generally speaking, top of search gets people with the most urgency to buy, to trust your product. So it can be very helpful. Typically higher performing. Make sure you're using your spirit campaigns. All those brands that you're conquesting against, all those brands that are conquesting against you, choose the products that you want to target with the products you want to have show on your side, and make sure your products are showing up on their PDPs. This is accomplished through several different ways in the back end of Amazon. We are highly recommending value images. Think of yourself as an Amazon customer for a second. You go to an Amazon page. Do you always read all the bullets? Probably not. On your mobile phone, do you scroll all the way down to those images in the A+ or enhanced content, sometimes that shrink down to illegible sizes on mobile? Probably not. You always look at the images. And the image section with a little bit of text can tell a story much faster in a more compelling way, especially if you're focusing on lifestyle, pithy text, value propositions. Storefronts are taking off. For a while, it was just Amazon telling us to do something, and now it's actually performing because people are engaging in storefronts in a way like they were not before, and they're actually engaging with mini websites. Now, mini brand websites on Amazon. This was something that we didn't expect to actually happen, but is finally happening. Make sure in advance of Prime Day, or even just planning for Q4, that you start to look back at what promotions you've run, what you've done in your website, what you've done with your emails, and start to coordinate and prepare for promotions on Amazon. It's going to cut into your margins, but during periods of time where there's a race for sales, a little bit of extra margin going out the door can catapult your product so much in sales velocity that once you ease off the promotion, you are now the dominant player. You went through kind of the wormhole there. When we partner with clients, we kind of structure it in 3 different ways. This is something that we thought could be applicable to anyone who's trying to revamp their Amazon, or if they wanted to work with us. We typically start off by thinking about foundation and infrastructure, making sure the tracking conversions are good, thinking about the investment strategy, how much of it is towards head, mid-tail, long-term brand conquesting, discovery, video versus search ads, headlines going to subcats. There's different steps in the customer journey that each of these types can appeal to. So determining how you want to dominate your market will actually determine the investment strategy. Campaign structure with a focus on OPA conquest strategy to make sure that your brand conquest and discovery have different budgets, different CPAs. And of course, thinking about the benefit of automated campaigns that give you a little bit of extra keyword data versus manual where you have control. Optimization process comes after that. This is, did I get the right keywords? Did I miss some keywords that I now have a product market fit for? How should I group my products together in a way that is sensible? Can I break out certain products in my ads? So a product may be appealing to 3 different segments, but I have different structure for each of those segments. Do I need to have any price intelligence on similar products, or am I fighting for the buy box? And after you've done that portion, and you've really started to hit your efficiency goals, maybe in a slightly scalable way, then you want to start thinking about how to really scale. What ad types should I add? Can I do some spike testing for certain keywords where I'm really performing well, but I'm not spending enough? What betas and new features should I bring into the mix and see how it impacts my tacos? What creative can I bring in that might get people stimulated in a way that I'm not doing right now? And can I do any new products, vertical integration with other products in my category, or should I expand from US to Canada, for example, on Amazon? If anyone's interested, by the way, before we get to the QA, in having a partner like us take a look at what your strategy looks like. Maybe you're happy with your growth, but you're not really sure if a different perspective might have a different plan. Well, if you're looking for a partner to kind of walk you through that and help you get there, we do have an offer. And I'll make this fairly quick. But the process that we do to help our prospective clients figure out what they need to do is somewhat exhaustive. We don't charge for this, by the way. We just do a fairly good amount of work. The first thing we asked ourselves when we're bringing on a new partner is, if we have $1 million in our back pocket, would we invest it in you? Would we buy part of your business? Wait, if we wouldn't buy part of your business, then we don't believe that we can market your business. So we're looking at things like, what is your history? Who are your founders? Who's your leadership right now? What are your values? What's the overview of your business, your margins, your segment? Who are your direct competitors, and why are you differentiated from them? We have a lot of tools that allow us to look at the landscape. What are the search trends for you versus your competitors? Who's spending more? Who spent more after the pandemic? What are the keyword profiles of each of your competitors? Where do you truly sit in value and visibility? Because that's going to determine a lot of our next steps. Then we start to think about the investment strategy, the shape of your investment. Should you go heavy on discovery? Should we go after people actually transactionally looking to buy right now? Is it more of a nurturing concept where we have to make a case for people to buy or invest a lot in the repeat purchases? What does your business model tell us we should do, as well as the way your consumers work in your competitive set? And then we choose a shape of the investment and we start to recommend that. On the search side, things that we've just talked about. Are you protecting your brand? Who should you conquest? And is there an opening for us to conquest them? On Google, on Amazon. What about discovery? How are we doing in terms of organic rankings? Why are you not ranking? If we show up, how do we get people motivated? In the micro moments of marketing, what cognitive things will people remember about the brand or the product? How will they feel about the brand or the product when they see it? That's building cognition and affect. You need to have a strategy for that. What type of temperament or persona are we trying to activate in the brain of your consumer? This is a science that is 5,000 years old, dating back to ancient Egypt. When people are introduced to your brand, what are we doing to nurture them to the first sale? And after the first sale, have we developed a machine that really gets the highest lifetime value out of those individuals? What are your competitors doing on Facebook and email? We have tools to scrape that and see exactly what they're doing on YouTube, etc. So now you have the real big picture. I'll put together a proposal. This is how much it's going to cost. Here's the team structure. Here's what your reporting is going to look like from now on. This is our proprietary reporting tool. If you have an in-house team, we'll do consulting. We'll tell you what we think you should do on a monthly basis. Your team does it. If you don't have a team, we'll do it all. So offering that to everyone on this webinar right now. We're giving you a lot of different options in terms of what fits your criteria. Do you want us to do this entire plan and you're actually looking for a full service agency? That's great. We'll spend the time. We'll do that. If you have an internal team, maybe you want planning, but you really were always hoping that you had a way for a company like ours with 200 plus employees, 450 accounts, and a tremendous playbook. You wanted our technology, our insights, our ideas that we've been testing for years, because you know you've been missing out on that from agencies. We don't want to abandon your in-house team. Maybe you need more info, maybe it's not the right time. And for those of you who are willing to be honest with us and say it's just not a fit with your business, I do know that other agencies are also on this presentation, and we appreciate you answering no there as well. Though we're always happy to have you. And we're going to close this out now in 3, 2, 1. Thank you, folks, for filling that out. I won't share this in the breakdown. I will say that 2/3 of you asked us to reach out. 32% specifically said no, and that's really great. It's nice to see that this resonated with you guys. Now let's go to QA. We have questions here that were asked directly to Ecom Engine and some more generic, but we do Amazon webinars all the time for exclusive. We definitely want Ecom Engine to have a chance to answer their questions. So Colleen, Becky, whoever wants to take the first question.
Sure. So I saw a question. Hold on, let's see. What specific tactics would you use to boost reviews on secondary ASINs in a catalog that already has other high review heroes? I would recommend just send very product-specific review requests. At least within Feedback 5, you can certainly do that. You can send review requests by ASIN so that you can make sure that you put that child ASIN in and send specific review requests for that. And then on the heels of that question, a hard time kind of reading through here, but I did see another one that was similar. Okay, another one on, you know, every so often I end up with products where the children of a parent show different review counts. Do you know why the reviews are not linked and how to merge them? Yeah, so seeing, you know, some products where the children of a parent show different review counts. This seems to be, you know, something that Amazon might quietly be rolling out. There's been a lot of variation of use with new product launches and reviews. So Amazon seems to be trying to remedy that by separating children from parent ASINs. And we're seeing that some products are affected and not others, but we have heard that reviews will no longer be automatically shared across all ASINs and within a product set, but ASINs ASINs in a variation family will still reflect the individual reviews. So there's definitely some changes, and that's why I think you're seeing, you know, some product sets, you're seeing the reviews shared, and in some cases they're not. We've been doing some research on this item recently, so we hope to have a blog post and some more information on this soon, because it is a question that we tend to get. But again, Amazon seems to be separating the children from the parent ASINs because of some of that abuse that has happened. And then as far as merging, I don't know that a seller even has access to do this, but sometimes Amazon will merge the reviews. If there's been any hijacking that's take place, then they'll separate and merge the reviews of the proper ASINs to correct that. So I know Amazon will do it if needed, but usually only in an extreme circumstance. I don't think a seller has access to do that. And then I think those are the only two that I saw on here that were review related, unless I missed one.
I can jump in and take the one about the product inserts, because that's also a question that we get a lot. So someone asked, how does Amazon keep track of what is inside the box in terms of inserts and whether the inserts comply with their guidelines? I think the answer to that is they don't necessarily track it, but we have seen some very large sellers. You probably saw the news probably like six or 4 weeks ago. There were some big sellers, very big in their categories, that actually got suspended, and part of that was because they were abusing product inserts and asking for a 5-star rating. And Amazon definitely doesn't want you asking for a positive review or offering a coupon or anything like that along with a review request, and they do take it very seriously. So you're not too big to fail, and they are paying attention. So even if they don't have, you know, someone in the fulfillment center looking at every single package, they do test orders. They have ways of looking and seeing what your inserts look like.
Yep, and someone just added, Amazon is known to do test buys as well.
Yep.
Let's see, people asking if the slides and recording, including the QA, will be recorded. Yes, that will be part of the recording. And trying to see if there's any other, how can you retrieve competitors' keywords? There are ways to do this, especially through SEO tools that are just meant to scrape websites. Amazon, at the end of the day, is just another website. So it's a matter of filtering down areas of Amazon. But that's one way to look at it. There's ranking technology like ours, where we can intentionally identify well rankings. But if the question is about, you know, how do I create a strategy based on competitors' keywords, typically the best thing to do is study that competitor's website keyword profile. For time's sake, we're at 3:01. I don't see, unless I'm missing something here. Conrad, yes, all the keywords and all the bullets are weighed the same. Not just 5 bullets, but for bullets 6 and 7. Yep. And I think that's it, as far as I can tell. Becky and Colleen, thank you guys so much for helping put this together. Folks, was this helpful? Did you guys, did you learn something from this presentation? Was it a good pace for you? Did we cover the right stuff? Hopefully we did. And thank you once again, Becky and Colleen. Thank you folks for spending time with us today. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks for our next webinar. Cheers, everyone.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.